No, not yet.
Hello?
Oh, it's delayed. So it's on.
Okay,
So I
Live
confirm we
chat.
got sound?
says live chat.
Amy said it's there.
All right.
Can you hear us?
All right. Success.
Everybody needs to speak up though, because I was told it was hard to hear last night.
Only microphone's in front of you.
How do I do that? Well, since Eric is a big proponent of training, maybe you guys should be trained on this, on my camera.
All right. I have,
Alina, do you have one of these?
No. No, all the people watching.
anybody need a,
I'm gonna give her one.
oh, here's.
I like to hold up my camera to people watching always ask what's on the agenda.
Hand out two. All right, welcome everybody. I'm going to call the public safety meeting for July 3rd, 2024, order at 6:03. With that, we'll do a roll call. Dane,
Here.
Cole,
Here.
Ross, Edwards, Martz,
Here.
Morse, here, Mayhall, here. All right, we have a quorum. I sent out earlier and provided you a paper copy of the minutes. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at the minutes, if you could take a look, and when ready, somebody could make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
All right, Tim makes a motion, in second.
I'll second.
Sean.
Sean. All those in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? All right, we'll move on to public body comment. Public body comment. Yes, ma'am.
Some questions based off the agenda. Can I ask why we are not and have not covered anything at any meeting with the rescue squad? Not saying the rescue squad's doing anything wrong, there's just never anything on the agenda about the rescue squad. So I'm just curious, but then I know at the last board meeting, Bobby removed Teresa and appointed himself, so it made me think, well, there's a different committee for the rescue squad, but why is that if they're part of public safety? Why is there a separate committee meeting for that? Do you guys know? Can-
Yeah, it's a fair question. I don't have an answer for that specifically, except that I know that it is being held out as a separate committee.
Do you know when they meet? Because there's nothing online that talks about the rescue squad committee meetings or anything. Do you know when those are held and where they're held at?
I'm not aware of any. I know Teresa used to be part of the
I've been taken off that committee.
I know, where do they usually meet at?
They met at the fire station.
Is it like monthly, like you guys meet?
Once a month.
Was it once a
Can I
month?
field something on that? They used to meet when it was a dive and rescue committee. They met the second Monday of every month at 6 o'clock at the Shelbyville Fire Station is where they met, where we met. So,
Okay. I just know, like, we talk about all the different departments, the highway department, every department. And again, not saying the rescue's done anything wrong or anything needs to be changed. I'm just curious, like, are those people on the rescue squad, are they happy with how things are going? Are they, I mean, I don't really know a lot of people on the rescue squad, so I'm not gonna go ask them, but I'm just genuinely curious, like, about the rescue squad, because there for a while, we were hearing stuff about them, things were being looked into, and then it's been absolutely silent since then, and people were moved around on the committee, so I'm just curious, like, what's going on with the rescue squad? And who to really ask that?
Yeah, it's a fair question. Not to pass the buck, but I would either reach out to Mr. Ross or Mr. Orman.
What, do you know why are they a separate committee? They're public safety. And I mean, the whole thing, when we originally started with the dive team of sand down the dike team and things were being said about the rescue squad and nobody wanted to do anything with them, and I'm glad they didn't, but I mean, it was brought up then, so I'm curious, like, why aren't they a part of public safety? Because they're technically public safety. Like, why, I just don't understand why they're different committees and all that.
Yeah, I don't have an answer
Okay, why?
specifically to that.
Okay.
I won't completely disagree with that. I know that there's formation stuff going on. There was a law that was, excuse me, a bill that was passed that I believe is still subject to being signed into law. My understanding is it wouldn't even be signed into law and effective until January.
Okay.
That would actually provide then for the ability to have proper formation. So,
So does it take that before they would be a part of like the public safety committee? Is that what you're waiting on as far as before they would be like with you as a committee and not two separate committees?
probably a fair assumption, if I had to guess. So even then, my understanding is that the proper formation can't take place until January 1st
Okay.
at a minimum, right? So I think in the process that there was talks of SOP, SOG writing, resolution writing, all of that to get to that point. But I don't know if any of that can be done.
Teresa, was the rescue squad meetings open where people could attend them?
Absolutely, they
Yeah.
were. Absolutely, they
I was
were.
gonna find out like when their next meeting is. I'm just curious how things are rolling out there. I mean, we have the engineer come in and talks about his department all the time, and we get, people come in and talk about their departments and how things go, and you just don't hear that. And that's questions people have asked, and I tell them I don't know either, but I'll ask.
I think they had something out at the 9th Street last weekend, was it?
Yeah, it was like Family Fun Day. They held out there at the point.
That would be
That's what they're
something that
talking
they could
about.
bring to this committee about an update for that and stuff like that, so. I didn't go, so I don't know anything about it.
Okay, I'm just curious. So like I
So
said, people were
will we-
asking me those types of questions, and I didn't have answers, but I said I would see if I could find some answers on
Well,
those.
there was a Senate bill, it's Senate Bill 1102, passed the Senate and the House. It was a piece of legislation that will allow Shelby County, and this was only Shelby County, and I don't know if you saw any of it on Facebook or whatever, this is what it said. That will allow Shelby County to officially and properly form, fund, and manage the Shelby County Rescue Squad. That's.
And I think that entire bill was actually derived from Sangamon County when
Yes.
they formed their countywide rescue squad.
And if you want to look up that bill on ilga.gov, it's SB 1102.
The last I had heard, that bill was still waiting on the governor's signature. It's on his desk, but it passed the House and Senate, it's just waiting on his signature. But I agree with Tad, I don't think it goes into effect until
Yeah.
January. So.
No.
Who sits on the rescue squad committee? You guys, if you were removed, I know Bobby is on there now. Who else is on there? Like if I didn't want to attend a meeting, but I would like to ask somebody a couple questions, try to get some citizens a couple answers without outrage and all that. I'm just
Did you
curious.
get appointed to this last?
I was asked if I would sit on that committee, and I told them that I would because I've been on the rescue squad in the
Mhm,
past a
yeah.
couple of times, and I've got a lot of that experience, and I said I would. And I do believe at the last county board meeting, they appointed me. I am not, and that was just at the last county board meeting, so
Yeah.
I believe it's still the second Monday of the month, but I am not 100% sure.
Okay.
And I
where it's at?
should be at the Shelby County Fire Station where it was always at. But I haven't been told where the meetings are being held, because he just asked me if I'd sit on it, and I told him I would, but I haven't seen an invitation to that yet. So.
Okay.
Would it have to be publicized?
Should.
Yeah, that's what I said, because I got on like the
It
county
should be,
site.
yeah.
Because you get on there
It's
and
a-
it
it's a-
shows all these type of
it's
meetings
like,
and stuff. I was just curious, I'm like, there's nothing about rescue on
Like
there to
Austin
look
said,
up.
I think those are open meetings that anybody could come
But
to.
I just
But I
feel they
don't know
can
where
post
it's
it on the
posted
county
at.
website and all that, like these type of meetings.
I don't know where it's posted at.
Yeah, so that's just curious, but, okay,
I'll find it.
Good
thank you,
questions.
thank you.
Thank you.
And then I have another question. I don't know if it's in public safety or who, but I feel like every committee should be on top of it because you're all board members, to see what we're doing about the delay in the deputies' pays. I mean, it was brought up last night, obviously it was a heated meeting. what we're doing to take action to get these deputies their pay. I don't know if any of you are on it, helping a part of it to make things right. Obviously, it was a payroll week. And from my understanding, deputies still weren't paid what they should have been given, and they're still, so here we are now, what is it, they're paid every 2 weeks, so now it's at least another 2 weeks before we see if it gets put on their next check, or we cut them separate checks. So just you guys as board members, you might make a note and you might look into it, because it's definitely not fair to any of those deputies over there that's short. I mean, you're talking the ones, $1,700, that's a lot of money when you have a family. So I know a couple of you were here last night and know the meeting, and a few of you were not here, may have watched it online, I don't know, but just so that you're in the loop, you might look into it and ask some questions too as board members, like what are we doing for these deputies? How do we fix this? What's the solution? Something, and hopefully it can be resolved before the next pay period to square up with these deputies. You don't want to lose any more deputies.
Yes, ma'am, agreed with that. So, and thank you for that. The sheriff is coming up here shortly as far as that, and so I'll let him weigh in when we get to his department update, and if he's got anything to add to that, we'll certainly.
Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. Public body comment. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Marks, have you received any communication about rescue squad meetings or anything going on in the future? Or?
All I was told was that asked if I would sit on it, and I know at the last county board meeting, I was out of town. I was not able to be here. I believe I watched the meeting. I believe they appointed me, but I have not gotten a meeting notice of when that is.
Okay.
I asked Sonny when they were, and I believe he told me they were the second Monday. But
Maybe next week.
Now, they had this family fun day. Did they come through the county to make sure that liability was taken care of with insurance, or was that ever brought to the county board? I mean, I think it's great, don't get me wrong. That's great to have families come out and join in and do all that, but was there anything, I've been to the board meetings and I don't ever remember that coming before the board.
I can't say that.
I can't answer that.
I don't know any,
Yeah,
what they did I thought was great. I saw the
Yes,
pictures.
yes, I think
He
that's great.
said it's really great. They had
It's
obviously
really
I mean, they had a good turnout, but not what Peyton was hoping that they would have. He said it's fun now, and he's glad they did it, but I don't know anything
Yes.
outside of the arrangements of that.
So are they actually, and maybe you can't answer this question, are they actually operating as part of the county, or are they not part of the county? Because the agendas haven't been being posted on the county website for people to come to these meetings to see what's going on. So it feels like they're not operating. Well, not above board, I'm not going to say that. I feel like they're not operating in view of what's, so we have knowledge of what's happening. There's going to have to be SOGs and SOPs written for the rescue squad too, or maybe they already have them, but have those been approved at a county board meeting for the rescue squad? And do we know for sure if they're insured?
They are,
Huh?
may I speak? They are insured.
And how do we know that if they're not operating part of the county?
There have been claims filed in the past that have been paid.
But that was before people realized, those claims were from a while back, and they were paid out before people realized that they were not formed and properly running as part of the county. So given that, how can we be sure that they're insured?
I don't think the issue is whether they're legally a part of the county. From my perspective, the rescue squad has been functioning, operating for a long period of time. They can't find the founding documents to that, but there are newspaper articles that they can find about the formation of the rescue squad. So obviously the county has recognized it for a long period of time.
Just as they had the dive team. So do you believe they were insured then when they were stood down?
I don't know about the dive team, that's a question for Austin.
But you're weighing in on the rescue squad.
Right, but I don't have any knowledge about the dive team. I don't.
Are you on the rescue squad?
No.
So where's your knowledge coming from?
It comes from being at the fire department.
From the fire department?
Correct.
And is the fire department running the rescue squad?
No. It's a separate entity. We house.
They share the building.
Okay.
He's been affiliated
So
with Fire
you
Department for
are
years.
hearing what's going on by being present at the meetings?
Well, not necessarily the meetings, but being on a personal basis with people involved with rescue squad, yes.
So you're having conversations and,
Right.
okay. I was just trying to put that all
The
together.
point of the state bill isn't to recognize the county seeing that this is a legal entity. It's the state recognizing that it's a legal entity because they can't provide those documents to the state. So therefore, to apply for grants, they need to try and get this bill passed.
What's that? Okay, well, my whole question, I guess, is there, I'm glad that we have our dive team back in operations. Are we, how many calls do we know, or is that even able to be able to give out information? How many calls have our dive team been on?
So Austin's gonna give an update later, and I think that's probably part of this update, if it's okay to wait till then on that.
Okay, and so, my thing is that I don't feel like they were treated equally. And I don't understand that, why they weren't treated equally. And they should have been. And I'm glad they're back, I'm glad they're functioning, but we need to know more what's going on with the rescue squad. And Mr. Mark, since you sit on both committees, and Mr. Ross does, I hope that you're able to give us some updates, because after everything that went on last summer, I think the public needs to know where things are at. And as far as having the county fund days and all, or the rescue squad, that's fantastic. You get families in, you get kids in that may want to serve in the future. I think those are all great things. But we need to make sure that if something were to happen at one of those events, would people be covered? And so if things are happening like that in the future, that there's a process, because I'm not seeing any process. There's nothing on rescue squad here. I'm not hearing anything on the county board meetings either. So it feels like we're kind of in the dark on that whole process.
Just to see it, I feel like they probably had to have something figured out, because there was fire trucks from the towns around us that attended this.
Good.
I'm not sure as far as what other from the towns around us that came and joined besides the fire department. I saw Strasburg come through. I saw several other departments around us come. So I don't think they would come and put themselves in a liability issue with, so I can't even say that they had something. You would think they would, because I would hope the other towns
Usually
would
people have to
come
have
here.
certificates of liability on file. When you have certain events, you have to have certificate of liability.
So whoever carried out
Insurance.
it, I don't know, but there were other fire departments that came and attended that.
Yes. And then my other thing would be, the people that were very upset about what went down seem to have no alarm here. Everything's just hunky-dory. So my thing is, let's treat people fairly and equally and with respect. I've always tried to come in and talk respectfully. I don't cuss, I don't yell. I talk directly to you and ask the questions I want to ask. I have been disrespected by many people. That needs to stop, because attitude reflects leadership. And if leadership, and in the meeting we sat in yesterday, before we even got to talk, it was just absolutely horrendous. And I'm sitting, 4 of these board members here, really good. I don't know you very well, Mr. Marks. I haven't seen a whole lot out of you, so I don't know what to think. But what I'm requesting is, when you see it get out of hand, instead of just sit back and watch it get out of hand, as a board member, please speak up and say, hey, we're not going to have our people disrespected. You set the tone. You guys set the tone. Thank you.
No, thank you. Public body comment. Public body comment. Public body comment.
And can I ask something with that? When we get and start going through the rest of the agenda, if anybody has any questions, do you have any problem with them asking them at that time?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
Just as long as we don't get too far off course, right?
Okay. Okay.
So we're going to move on to item 5, which is discuss and vote for a recommendation to the full board to remove animal control truck, the 2012 Chevrolet pickup with VIN number 1 Golf Charlie I forget, NKPE 06 Charlie Zulu 225377 from surplus. Can I have a motion?
I'll make
for this,
that
please?
motion.
Motion by Carol, second. Second by Tim. Ma'am?
I didn't get this emailed out, but I printed off kind of a comparison of the old truck and the truck we now have. I just thought it might be helpful because it's really helpful for me. I didn't get it emailed. So this just compares the truck that was originally ordered. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The truck that was originally ordered by Brad in 2022 was the truck on the left. So comparing these two, because our current truck that we now have, the 2023, is not going to work for snow, ice, mud, anything extra that we need. So this compares the two for the reason that we need to keep now two trucks instead of the original one that was ordered that we didn't get. So on the left side, the 2024 truck that Brad ordered ordered at $39,000. It was a work duty truck, 3/4 ton truck, 4-wheel drive, dual cab, going to serve the purpose of animal control. With a custom fiberglass animal transport unit, that piece was $20,000. So our total for that truck was $59,000. Now, we were denied that truck back last year. So what we ended up with in 2023, ordered by Cody, was a $38,000 truck. So only $1,000 difference, a year older. It's a light duty half-ton truck. It's a 2-wheel drive, single cab. So that 2-wheel drive will not get us in the weather where we need to be, or the mud, which we do go in fields and we're not just on the roads. The single cab leaves no storage in this truck, nor the ability for another employee to ride along, which is necessary in a lot of cases. And then the aftermarket aluminum topper, we just received it. When I took this position in January, I was told that I needed to go ahead and order this topper. Brad was given a $15,000 budget for this topper. The other truck was that $20,000 unit was what we needed, but we ended up with this topper that we currently have that was installed last week. The sheet kind of compares the differences. The current topper that we put on the truck, you can even see in the picture, we took a short bed truck and we put a topper on the back of it, versus a custom truck built for animal control. So this new topper, it's built cheap. It costs $10,000 and it looks and works, functions like a $10,000 topper. The unit that we needed was $20,000, but we didn't get to spend that. So this one might last 5 years or so. The original was built to last 30 plus years. The topper we currently have on the 2012 truck has lasted 3 trucks, 30 years. It's a stainless steel topper. It's lasted a long time. It looks like it. It's been well used. But this new topper for the new truck, it won't last maybe 5. So additionally, it is not designed for the safety of Brad or the safety of animals. When you look at this picture, you can see we still have to lift animals up over the side of the truck to get them into it. We're talking about a 100-pound dog that doesn't want to go in the truck, or a deceased dog. These are things that the other truck that we were supposed to get had all the accommodations to handle that. The new one doesn't have that. So additionally, the compartments aren't big enough in the new topper, so we have to go back and have it modified. We had to order a lot of aftermarket pieces to try to make this current topper work. It's still not in service yet because we're still modifying it to make it work. In the end, you can see that there's $7,000 difference savings, if you want to call it a savings, in this truck that Cody ordered for us. However, now we're asking you to let us keep the old truck. So there's additional maintenance needed on that truck, plus license and insurance. And then in a few years, we'll have to replace this new topper that just came. So it didn't really save that $7,000 at all. So additionally, I had a note on the bottom here that in 2015, Animal Control installed the public dog wash. The intention of that dog wash was to raise funds specifically for Animal Control's needs, non-taxpayer dollars. Just people come in, watch their dogs, we earn a profit. $33,000 has been raised in profit off that dog wash since 2015. Those funds were directly to go for our truck, and they did. So, here we sit. They're still sitting in an account as far as I know, but we didn't get to use them.
Can you sell this truck?
Ted, I can't say anything positive, so I'm not saying anything.
No, so I have a couple follow-ups to this. You just mentioned you have additional work that needs to be done for the topper.
Yes.
Is that included in this?
It's in that modifications. We think about $500.
Okay.
It's got to go back to the installer.
And then apart from obviously the height difference as far as lifting, moving an animal into this, the construction quality you mentioned, aluminum versus fiberglass, you mentioned, I assume just normal day-to-day wear and tear, but in addition to that, is that animal waste, is that part of the breakdown potentially of the aluminum?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, and so there's a drainage system in the unit that we wanted and that we ordered. There's no drainage system in this new truck. So there's no cleaning, there's no quarantine any animals. It's a lot similar to what we have had. So we needed an upgrade, and we had the funds for it. And, go ahead. No, it's just, and that's kind of why I took pictures, because that was, for me, I went, oh, I totally see the difference. What we needed, what we ordered, was a work-duty truck. That the chassis was then installed on it, direct from the manufacturer. It was drop shipped to us. It was all done. It was, it's kind of like you take an ambulance and you say, we're going to give you a minivan, not an ambulance. I mean, that's kind of what we did. And now we've modified this truck to make it work, but it's still in modification, and it's still not going to last or be useful, really.
Ballpark when you think you're done with your last modification to finally use it?
I think it'll be about 500. I think those totals are pretty close.
I'm sorry, timeline.
Timeline?
Yeah.
I hope in a few weeks, probably end of the month. The guy's on vacation that installed it, so we got to get it back to him. And so we've had this truck sitting since November. I was told when I first started to get that topper ordered immediately. It took 6 months to get it. So that's why it was just installed mid-June.
And then you mentioned maintenance on the existing truck that we're looking to retain in the department,
Right.
so.
It needs new tires immediately.
Okay.
We didn't do anything because we weren't planning on needing to keep it. So, yeah.
Do you know how your budget sits right now
For,
maintenance and stuff?
I don't have that number off the top of my head. You
There
know?
is, it's not much, I think it's maybe 3,000 or 5,000 that,
And you're likely to spend at least $1,000 on tires.
and it was less, but since as the truck got older, I raised that up, but
So I guess with the tires and whatever maintenance, we're likely to go through your repair maintenance budget.
At least hit it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's assuming even the new truck doesn't need something right away, right?
Right?
Okay.
That's right. Not to mention the safety aspect of the new truck versus the old truck. I mean, that was the whole point with the old ones. Not having to lift these dogs or fight these dogs to get them up over the tailgate into the truck.
there was a built-in ramp that was actually built into the truck. So all you had to do was pull it out. Now, we bought a aftermarket ramp, but the back end is so small. If I put a ramp in there and I go out and I have 2 dogs, I'm not gonna be able to put a dog in there because it's taking up all the space.
So does that, I guess in a situation like that, then does that mean you're having to go back? Like you have to leave an animal on site in a situation and then?
Well, I've never have, but, I mean,
At this point, you need to call me to get the other truck to come help. I mean,
So now we're running 2 vehicles.
all the time.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot else, and apologies probably pretty hollow to come, but that's the best I can.
well, here's my thought on this is, where does Shelby County place the safety on their employees? Is $7,000 worth the safety of an employee? You know, that's where I'm at. I mean, I've done a lot of research on these trucks, and this is where everybody's going, you know, this is, you know, when I go to these trainings and stuff, people drive in their truck, this is what I'm saying, just what I heard. It's nothing fancy, it's just,
It's a work truck.
it's a safety item, you know. This new truck, it's just like the old one, basically. I can get a dog in there fine, safely, but I can't get him out. So I gotta open the door to get my catch pole on him to get him out of there. That's what's gonna have to be refurbished. The other door on the other truck that I tried to order had a cutout for that, so you can get the dog before you ever open the door on your catch pole. And still open the door, but when you open the door, he's already caught. This one, you gotta open the door, then get him on the catch pole. So, it's just not a safe, you know, I mean, I've been dealing with that, and I was trying to prevent that, but here I am. And as far as the lifting of them, you know, these dogs are not wanting to go in the truck to begin with. So if you get I'm not even gonna make it small, a 50-pound dog that is trying to eat you, it's not real pleasant to pick him up, you know? And, you know, and I'm not saying every dog's like that, but I get a lot of them that's like that. You know, so it's, again, my question is, where does Shelby County, what's it worth? What's the safety worth to their employees? Apparently not $7,000. And a truck that's gonna last 3 times longer than the other one. Yeah,
Thank you.
I'll just leave it there.
So, thank you, ma'am, appreciate that. Anyone else have any comments?
Can I ask a question, Brett?
You sure can.
I wasn't involved in any of that, but
I understand.
I can tell you from being in EMS, you know, people and dogs are not getting any smaller. They're only getting heavier. And I can tell you by looking at this, you try to stick a dog in one of those little bitty doors, the side of that truck's going to be scratched all to hell. And then it's going to be rusting, and then it's going to look like crap. Is it possible, since they've already bought the truck, is it possible to get a bed like the one on the 2024 that would fit that?
Too light duty. There's one spring on the back of the truck.
That's fine. I was just asking. So, all right, that answers my
I
question.
I'm
realize,
afraid to step on the tailgate myself.
realize this isn't on the agenda, but is there a way to fix this? Is there a way to put this new truck and try to get what he should have got to begin with?
I think it's possibly worth opening a discussion, and, you know, I certainly will take your lead, right? I mean, you've been put in a position to make that department yours and to do what's there. And so I'll definitely take your lead and recommendations on that for sure.
I mean, another thing I have to add is I got an email where it wasn't my place to order this truck and topper. It was the place of the administrator. The administrator did not order this truck. So I'm just curious as to why I got that email.
When did you get that?
What's that?
When did you get that? Was that when, before
When
the
after I
administrator?
ordered the truck.
Okay, okay. Enough said. The part of this, of having this new truck that's not in service, what do you do with the new truck? Because we ran into this when we tried to figure out how to buy the truck that was ordered, and there had been some negotiations about trading in the existing truck that you had, and it was pointed out to us that you can't do that with county equipment. You cannot trade vehicles in. So now you've got a brand new vehicle sitting there, what do you do with it?
To another department.
Yeah, I'm thinking move it to another department, highway department.
It's two-wheel drive though, who wants it?
County engineer.
I know a lot of people drive around with two-wheel drive trucks, but I
There's
mean,
I don't know if you'd call it a resolution or what, that was signed off by the board chairman, which was, at the time, was Bob Yorman, saying we could trade it off.
Trade what on?
The old truck on a new one.
But I
But then it was brought up later that we could not trade it off.
It becomes surplus is what I think
Yeah.
the word that they use instead. So, Brad, I am sorry. You know how sorry I am about this whole thing because I've been on this committee and lived through this with you. And I would love nothing more than to be able to fix this.
If I were you guys, as far as trading in a vehicle, I would check with Ruth on that, because there was a time when the dive team purchased a new vehicle, that we traded in a vehicle, and we had an opinion from our state's attorney at the time that it was okay to trade in a vehicle. So it would be worth looking into.
Yeah, we have a lot of work to do. We have some work to do, and I promised you, from day one that we would start working together on some of this sort of stuff. So, we will work together.
Can I ask a question? Was there a contract signed, like for the topper, if the topper doesn't serve the purpose that they need it and doesn't fit, can the topper be sent back and refunded, out that, rather than keep putting money in to retrofit it?
So if you custom order toppers, what they claim, so built just for the truck.
And it came
I
from
didn't know
Texas.
that.
didn't it?
The original, as seen in this photo, was custom.
So you have to pretty much retrofit it.
Aluminum truck, aluminum topper on it.
And can I ask a question? I take my dogs to the dog wash station often, and that just intrigued me what she said. I'm curious because, I spend $15 when I go down there with my dogs. And she was talking about that money going in there. I didn't realize that, I didn't really know where it was going until you just said that.
Yeah.
So it's just sitting in a fund. Why did they have to get into their budget to buy this truck and topper if the funds were sitting there? Where are those funds and what are they spent for and whose account? Like, where are they sitting at? Do any of you guys know, or can you find out, I guess? Do you?
I know it's taken from the budget, and I know that, even if there would have been so much allocated for capital improvement, through a truck purchase, right, anything over and above that could have been allocated out of this fund to cover.
That's what I'm getting at. She just said what they raised, 30 grand, and then what you just, shouldn't that 30 grand went towards a purchase of new truck and then only got into their budget by maybe 30 grand rather than getting another budget for 60 grand? So where's that 30 grand?
I don't know.
Gotta go.
I don't know.
I'm really intrigued by that now, that she brought that up about the dog wash.
It goes into the animal control fund, and we had 75,000 allocated in outlay that included the dog wash money because it goes into the animal control fund, but we didn't get to use it.
You did.
Which we would have still come well under that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's,
Definitely.
59.
what is there, I think there's like $150,000 in that animal control account. And it came from that dog wash citations, registrations. That money is not taxpayer money.
I'd definitely be looking to see if you could trade that in then.
I mean, that's,
I'm intrigued by this, Tad. We got faith in you.
Thank you. Thank you. But the purpose here is to now remove from surplus the vehicle that we thought that we could then turn over to another department. But we're not going to be able to do that because we don't have full use of the new vehicle that we have. So, any other question or comment on this?
No, but do we need to all vote on our motion that was seconded to keep the truck? Do we?
Yeah, so we're going to vote on this to send it to the board because it was voted on.
Okay.
I'll make the motion.
The motion second.
Oh, sorry.
So if there's no other
I
discussion,
missed that.
if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes unanimously. All right, I'm going to move on to the sheriff for his updates.
Okay, you got a couple updates for you. First one is on the window project. I think I've already let you know that the contract has been signed to move forward on the replacement of the windows. Also, a contract's been signed with an environmental company to do the hazardous material remediation that they have to do here. Monday afternoon, we're gonna have our first meeting where we're gonna have window manufacturer, contractors, and Centrica. We're all gonna be together to do our first walkthrough and start getting a plan as hopefully that'll get moving forward. The other thing, and I mentioned it last month, I had made 2 employment offers, and since then we'd hired 2 deputies. They were lateral hires, which means they were prior law enforcement officers. One came from the Weekwell Police Department and one from the Macon County Sheriff's Office came over to us. So that's the good news. The bad news is I'm, thought I was 2 steps forward and I'm probably that many back now. I just got a resignation letter from a deputy who's moving to Decatur Police Department later this month, and then I also have a deputy that's going to be retiring too. So got some more gaps to fill there.
So you have that 0.
No, he's down, aren't you still down?
Right, but with.
Right, yes,
Yes.
it ended up being a wash, so, but at least I have those 2 lateral hires that don't have to go to the academy.
Yes, fantastic.
Yep. So the next couple things.
I don't like the way that's going.
I consider myself a conservative Christian and look to Scripture for some guidance here. And one thing that I tried to do is in James 1:19, it says to be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. And I try to follow that. Well, it's time for me to speak on a few issues. We've had problems with the payroll system all along. Some of them, like I said, it might be our training. I'm willing to do more training so we can improve it. I think the system doesn't have everything we need in it. With that being said, the most problematic time came now almost 3 payrolls ago, which was it was Memorial Day weekend, and the time clock was down, and it crossed the payroll period too. And so during that time when the time clock was down, the employees couldn't look at it. They couldn't see if they needed changes made. I couldn't make the changes in there. And then that created some problems that did not get fixed and didn't get put into the system in time. We identified them and we sent them over, and now we're on our 3rd payroll. Now today, we went and had somewhat of a conversation about this, and State's Attorney was with me also. I think, and time will tell because their paychecks get cut this week, but we'll look whether they're made whole or not from this. So we'll check that and see if they're getting what they're supposed to get paid. I think some will, and I think some won't, because there's some disagreement on the contract. So I guess I have a couple asks of you. So again, going back to Scripture, it says, "You shall not muzzle an ox when it treads out the grain, which is the laborer deserves his wages." You know, if we've identified that they work those hours, they need to be paid for it. And again, whether it's my fault, their fault, somebody else's fault, but once we get it figured out, we need a process to be able to correct that. So with that being said, one, a grievance has now been filed, and this kind of came up last night with the grievance over the time clock. So a grievance has been filed by the FOP union reference to pay and the issue of the time clock. They also basically go on to say that, you know, that the sheriff can inform the board it's the union's intent to take the matter all the way to arbitration, and we're prepared to grieve every time the time clock malfunctions until it's replaced with a new system or is worked out. And again, I think the smartest way to do that is again in contract negotiations and negotiate getting this done correctly. So there's agreements filed on, and then back to the time clock. I don't know if you're aware, but the ones that were here last night it went down last night and it's still currently down at this time. It's, you know, I mean, it happens and I understand it. But it's happened before, it's going to happen again, and the other thing about the payroll policy is there was nothing addressed to when that does happen, what the procedure is, how we're going to move forward to get the correct pay. So with that being said, I guess I have a couple of asks. One is back on, speaking of contract negotiations, the FOP filed a letter to myself and to the chairman back on May 3rd that they put a formal notice to demand bargain because their contract is up September 1st. So we should be starting bargaining on the contract now. And so we can work on, you know, any other issues that need to be corrected and these issues at the same time. So I guess my question is who's going to do the bargaining? Is it, you know, is there going to be a committee involved in it? Which committee is it going to be? And can we get started on dealing with this issue? So that's one ask I have is figuring out contract negotiations. The second is, I guess back to the time clock, is I would like some guidance on now that a grievance is in the file and we have problems, what your suggestions are that we do with at this point.
Can I speak to that? I, in public body comments last night at the legislative meeting, I tried to talk with the legislative group because I am familiar with contract negotiations with the union. When you have changes in working conditions of any kind, you are mandated to sit down with the union and negotiate. Negotiations are just a back and forth, you know, give and take. And with them being so close to negotiations anyway, this would be something that management can put on their slate to take to the table. And in doing that, you probably realize that with negotiations, it's give and take, so you may have to give something to get something. But with the issues around this time clock, with the FOP, Bright having as many employees and as many different rates of pay, stipulations for time off, overtime, comp time, vacation time, everything else, I would think it would be best right now if they stop using the time clock because of all the issues that it's creating and try to figure out fixes for it before we put it back into place. I don't know if the system is capable of doing everything that they need over there. But by contract, they have these options. If they don't want pay for overtime, they can have comp time. Am I speaking right?
That's correct.
And vacation, you know, that's something they're entitled to and stuff. Wages, there's all the different deputies over there that probably make different wages. My understanding is they're on 12-hour days. So I don't know if there's 8 hours of straight time, 4 hours of time and a half, 10 hours of straight time. I don't know how it's negotiated. But it's not the same as the departments in this building where the employees come in and work 7 or 8 hours and every once in a while, they might get some overtime or something. His department has got 30-plus employees over there with different titles, different classifications, and different options for their pay. And nobody should have to wait 3 pay periods to get their money back. I'm really sorry for this employee and what he's had to go through and stuff, because if this man has a family at home and stuff and they depend on that pay, that's just terrible. I think it's treating the employees terrible. That's my suggestion, is that they stop using the time clock until they can get everything figured out and sit down at the table and work it out. I mean, there isn't any problem that can't be worked out, but you gotta have some cooperation here, guys. I'm done.
So to that point, if the system's down, you're not tracking, right? Like, you're still tracking time.
Correct.
Everything's being
Right,
done, whether it's
yes.
in paper form, right? You're
Yes.
still tracking it. And so if nothing else, if it's being used, so when it's working, a supplement to that being paper backup is a reasonable ask, right? To at least get somebody paid on time, which leads me to a clarifying question I had. So is this just one employee that's had pay delays, or is there multiple at this point?
Today I was addressing 3.
Okay.
And that was the 3 from that particular pay period, but we've had others in almost every pay period. Sometimes it might be, it might be small. It might be, they're missing 90 cents a shift differential from a couple hours, and I can't answer why, but it's not adding up correctly. But there's other times where it's been, significant or.
So in those situations, if you're paid every 2 weeks, is the previous pay fixed, but sometime in between there was another one, and then so essentially we're still just carrying this forward?
Right. None of them have ever been fixed in between. They possibly are fixed on the next pay period, or the next, like we've had this time, but.
That there's no offer to
Special check.
special check or
Special
off
check.
second payment or something like that.
I don't think they should have to wait.
I don't either.
I think if it's off tomorrow, you get another check. I mean, everybody wants to get paid. We could ask the person writing the checks, would they like to have their check?
Is it still down right now?
It is still down
So
currently.
is it something to do with holidays? Because you say you went through the entire Memorial Day weekend period as well?
No, I don't believe, I think it was supposedly their fiber cable is cut, is what we were told to this company. And I don't know if it's.
That's now.
What's that?
Was that the first time or that's this time?
Yes, I think both.
That's a lot of cutting.
It is, but, and so I don't know if it's not cloud-based, not backed up, doesn't have a different route to check. It doesn't appear to.
So in theory, so when does this next pay cycle end?
Well, now it won't end until, because it just ended on Sunday.
paid
It'll be,
this week.
it's about 2 weeks away, so.
So there's no built-in safety net with these time clocks at all for whenever it goes out?
And this is all, so this would be countywide. Every employee at this point would not be able to enter their data.
Correct.
Okay. And so if there was, say, a 5 or 6 day outage that then bumped up to the pay period, so 5 or 6 days countywide, with the way that we're doing things now, every single employee should be expected to be void 5 or 6 days with the pay? If we're
I don't
not
know.
back-
Again, I think the policy should, and or the contract negotiations should address that. And what the procedure is for when that happens again, because it's.
Well, it's happened twice now, and how long?
Well, this time and the last time was, like I said, Memorial Day weekend, but it happened at times for that. The other thing is sometimes my deputies, they're trying to remote it or, access it remotely either through their hotspot on their computer or through a browser on their phone, and depending on where they're at, atmospheric conditions, they're not getting a signal to be able to get logged in.
Well, we've determined that through communications discussions just on radio, so I provide the cell phone service.
Right,
like
exactly.
Just as inadequate in places. Anything else?
No, I think that's, like I said, I was just kind of wanting to get your feelings and guidance on where we go from here, how we address this going forward.
No, it's fair. Those are fair questions. And I guess in a summary too, the one thing I'd like to point out, because if you have anything else, then I'll let you speak because you're up next. But what I appreciate is having leaders, department heads, come here to advocate for their people, right? And it's not as if you're coming in here just to chirp or whine about something. Like, these are legit things. And I appreciate leadership stepping up and recognizing where things need to be addressed and bringing it forward in a public forum, right? And again, I don't think that anybody would disagree that we need the proper equipment and tools to do our job. And we sure expect that our people are going to get paid on time when they've earned it, regardless of whatever form we're able to submit that to, especially in a broken system. So I appreciate that level of advocating for your people and your departments. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
And I
Thank
do
you,
too.
Brian.
Brian, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Do we have a cost on we had a couple of costs on the windows, because I think it needs to be on the agenda. And is that going to include the environmental
Yes,
stuff?
right now, basically the cost of the windows is 1 million, and the cost of the remediation is 100,000. It's actually a little less than 100,000. Again, barring any problems they run into, but, so right now we're looking at, 1 million and 100,000.
Because we thought $1,250,000 was allocated.
Yes,
but
yes,
it-
so
But it
we
wasn't
should,
on the ARPA thing, so we.
it wasn't, okay, I mean, I
It
know
says
it
it
was,
wasn't voted on, so we need to
Okay.
get that taken care
Right.
of, so you can get
And
started.
then the
I would think $1 million, the original $1,250,000 should cover it, even with,
the grant, the historical grant for the stucco stuff, are we
Yes.
still on board to use that? Having been approved?
we have
for
not
the
been
extension?
approved to use it for the window project, and
How about the stucco? on the building?
well, yes, other than we have no information yet on, how to remove it or what should it be replaced with, but that is a possibility. And Centrica says they're gonna reach out to the Historic Preservation Agency and try to work on that, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
very much. Ms. Miller, do you have anything else tonight?
I didn't have anything besides the email that I sent with updates.
Okay. Okay, no, we all got that.
Yeah,
So
nothing
anybody have any
additional.
questions for Angela? So again, thank you for everything. I appreciate it. I appreciate the dialogue that we've had as well and stuff. So,
Can I say something real quick
You may.
about animal control?
please.
I do want to thank Bradbury and Matt. They both did a great job on that stray that we had out at Wolf Creek at the campground. Both of them were very professional. Matt was out there on the weekend, handled the situation very professionally, and then, Brad did come out there and set the trap and caught the dog right away. So I do appreciate you guys coming out there, and they were very professional, and do appreciate everything they do for the counties.
Thank you for saying so. I can use that once in a while.
Thank you goes a long way.
That and the 25 cents, I'll probably get you a cup of coffee at McDonald's, maybe. Probably 50 cents.
Move on to Austin for some Diet King updates.
Well, I'm going to talk about bills first. Got a copy of a bill for all of you. You get that one.
Thank you.
You can have a copy of this one too.
That's good.
That bill you've got in front of you, the invoice, the date it was made was clear back February 28th. That was before I was appointed as commander, and what this is for is when the F-150 was surplus, it had emergency lights on it, had a radio in it, had all the normal equipment. Somebody requested Global Tech to come in and remove all that stuff before that truck was sold. So I don't know who was supposed to receive that invoice for this, but Global Tech actually had my address and everything on file. So I received this through the mail. Tad, I believe the postmark on there is like June 10th or something.
June 10th.
So I received it about a week and a half ago, I think. So I don't know how you want to take care of this. I'm not going to sign a claim form for this. It wasn't under my watch that it got done. So I don't feel it should be me signing the claim form, and I don't feel it should come out of the dive team's budget. Maybe the proceeds that was made off of the F-150 when it was sold, maybe that can take care of that. I personally had we still been functioning, this $376, and actually with the finance charges and everything, what, we're up to $392. So I think I could have removed all that equipment in about an hour's time myself, and you know, there wouldn't have been a $400 bill.
Is this equipment in the shed?
Yes, the equipment is at the station, the light bar and the radios and everything that were removed from it. We do have that equipment. It was left in a pile on the floor, so it is there. But as far as the labor and the service call, there need to figure out where that's going and how that's getting paid.
Okay, I will take care of that.
Okay. Along with bills, you're going to see, from Finance Committee and also at the board meeting, you're going to see we're $1,500 for a new full face mask, which is we've always had a backup. We issued one of those out to a diver that had never been issued one, so I wanted to replace it with a backup, so in case one goes down, we've always got a backup. Rotational anchor. It's expensive, but it's custom made at $1,262, and it's not something you can just go on Amazon and purchase. It's being built by Paul Barnes, and basically what it consists of is it's a stainless plate with a stem that comes out of it, and it's a ring, and it rotates around. You know, when we do a boat-based operation, that anchors the front of the boat, but then the diver goes down that line. They take their comm line through that ring, and it allows them to do a surge pattern in a circle, rotate back and forth. Back July of, let's see, we're at 24, so it would have been July of 22, we lost our rotational anchor. We were diving in about 52 foot of water, bringing a boat up, and the rope broke on it. We tried to locate it, couldn't locate it, so we're in the process of getting that replaced. Had some fins and stuff that were aging and cracking. You're going to see a bill for replacement on that stuff. So just normal equipment that's aging and that kind of thing. So you see bills on that. As far as calls, since the last time we met, we've been dispatched 5 times. And that 5 times was in about 8 days. So that's been more recently. 2 of those were mutual aid. One was mutual aid to Effingham, one was mutual aid to Moultrie. One of those calls we got 1022 before we ever got there. Person in distress that, well, they thought they were in distress. Another one was to the river. So, you know, it's that time of year. It's doing what we do, but we're back up 100% operational and taking care of all that stuff as we need to. So, other than that, I think that's all I've got. Unless somebody got any questions.
Fourth of July.
No, wait a
Fourth of
minute.
July.
Wait a minute. I do have one more thing. I looked at Tad and he reminded me. We're down 1 truck. You know, I've said this before that we're down 1 truck. I am curious if we have a call that we want to take both boats, and I hook a boat on the back of my personal truck. Is my truck covered by county insurance if something happens?
Well,
Something to find out.
back that up real quick. Don, if we want, it's almost standard procedure, we take 2 boats to every call. 1 for operations, 2 for keeping the work area safe. So 2 boats are always needed. Being down a truck, that makes it complicated to get 2 trucks there with county equipment.
So yes, I can hook a boat onto the back of the command truck, but I am not gonna back of the command truck down a boat ramp with a boat attached to it, because there's a good chance that big truck's gonna end up in the water doing something silly like that. So then we would have to do a bunch of reconfiguration, unhook one trailer, hook it onto another, all of that. In the middle of a emergency call, we don't have time to be doing that. You know, that's so I don't mind for right now until we figure out a truck. I don't mind hooking one onto my truck and my personal truck and taking it as long as it's covered. You know,
I will submit an email for that I'll work with the state's attorney, because I don't get a whole lot of success with the insurance company on that.
Okay. Okay.
4th of July.
We will be down at 9th Street at the Point stage, ready to go for the fireworks tomorrow night. And if anything happens, fingers crossed, nothing will. But we'll be there and be ready.
Anybody else? Great, thank you. Scott, you have anything?
I gave you a copy of this, just in case I got called out. May 30th, completed all my IEMA OHS trainings that I was required to. I'm going to continue to take training courses, of course, to further my education for us to be best prepared. I'll be attending a mass fatalities planning and response for rural communities class on October 22nd. I've been coordinating with Coles County Regional Planning on our drafted Shelby County Hazard Mitigation Plan, which we're required to update every 5 years. It's about a 200-page document. It's not exactly fun to read, but basically it just outlines all the hazardous material facilities and the potential for anything, even like tornadoes and stuff like that. They basically put all that in there. I am coordinating with IEMA OHS in preparation of creating our state-required LEPC, which is a local emergency planning committee. This is basically a group of local stakeholders that will basically be renewing the county's emergency operations plan, which we're required to review every 2 years. And that has not been updated since 2016. And then September 24th, at the MABUS meeting, I've invited the regional Red Cross representatives, including Sean, I think his last name is Ludke, as well as our local Red Cross members, Sharon DeVore and Mary Holly, to discuss emergency shelters for the county, as well as recruiting, hopefully, for the Red Cross, because we only have the 2 representatives locally, and the Red Crosses always needed more help. And then just a casual meet and greet and information sharing event. So I'm inviting all you guys, if you can have any interest in attending that. That's on September 24th at 7 p.m. And that'll be at the regular MABUS meeting at the Shelbyville Fire Park. That's pretty much it. Just otherwise, it's just pipeline trainings and boring stuff. So, any questions?
Thank you. All right, anything under old business? Any new business? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn. Carol makes a motion.
I'll second.
Second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, folks, we're adjourned. Thank you very much.